Hey peeps! In case this is your first time here, hi, I'm Ovahiz. I do mixed media illustration videos here on YouTube. Welcome. Ideally, I can impart some of my gathered knowledge, or at the very least, hang out with you for a little while. In either of those cases, I wanted to thank y'all for joining me today, so let's get to it. So I had a different video that I wanted to share with you peeps this week. But as I was trying to draw this week, I actually started to fall back into my perfectionist syndrome rut, which I categorize it as its own version of art block. So I noticed I needed to do some loose art to help me come out of that. And I noticed that it would be a good time for me to talk to you guys about the tips and techniques that I use to come out of perfectionist syndrome, art block, whatever you want to call it. Because I don't want you guys to think that every single piece of art that I make is pristine and what you see on here, because it really ain't. There's so many shitty drawings, as you would call them, that come before those finalized pieces that you never get to see because they're off camera. And today I just wanted to show you guys what, my loose art style looks like when maybe I start to get into a funk and I want to loosen up to prepare for another finalized piece. So everybody has different ways of doing their loose art. Other people call it comfort art. For me, my loose art, aka my comfort art, is usually picking or designing a single character that I will repeatedly redraw, either with different outfits or the same outfit, depending on what I want to focus on. So today I want to draw the same character with different expressions, but I don't want to have to think too much about different color palettes for different outfits. So I'm just going to draw the same character with the same outfit here. So when I make loose art, I try to pick out 3 colors to limit myself to somewhat ensure that the piece will look cohesive. I don't count skin tone in these 3 colors most of the time. And material wise, I try to use my older markers and highlighters that I don't use anymore or they're about to kick the bucket. Because that's how I maintain my rotation of pens and liners. I start to use the older ones during these sessions so that way I can use my newer, more pristine ones for my finalized pieces. And that way I ensure that I use all of the liner and all of the pen without it drying out. As you can see, I'm using very loose line art because I want to focus more on the gesture of the character. Another thing that usually happens in these loose art page spreads is that because I'm drawing on the back of another drawing, there will usually be bleed through or ghosting, as they call it in the journal world. So I'll just do a little collage in the areas where maybe I want to cover up whatever bleed through goes by, just to make the spread look a little cuter. And personally, I get really excited whenever I have an excuse to use a glue stick and washi tape. I also like to add a little message, usually in this area where there's a lot of collage happening, just to make it feel and look like it was purposeful, but most of the time it's not. It's not planned. Back in the day, I used to have so many sketchbooks filled with only loose art, and it's understandable why I was doing that. I was trying to figure out my style, I was trying to hone down on gesture, and I was really trying to explore the way I enjoyed moving my hand along the page, because it's really important to feel comfortable when you're drawing. You don't want to be forced to replicate an art style where your hand is constantly cramping up. Another thing that I used to do was I would separate my loose art sketches in a different sketchbook than the sketchbook that I would use for my finalized art pieces. But the problem that happened from that was that I was so focused on making perfect art in this pristine sketchbook that I altogether stopped drawing in them, and I would only draw in my shit art sketchbooks because I felt free and like I didn't have to worry about fucking up. So that's why now I like to draw my loose art in the same sketchbooks where I draw my finalized art, because mentally, psychologically, I want to treat both of those art styles equally, because I don't want to put down a piece of art just because I perceive its value to be lower. If at the end of the day I had fun drawing both of these pieces, just because one of them looks more quote-unquote professional, it shouldn't make it more valuable to me. Now, if you're someone that wants to have a sketchbook where everything in it is just finalized piece after finalized piece, by all means, go ahead, because I know what it's like to have a sketchbook like that too, and it is very satisfying. It is, and it can feel very rewarding at the end. But in case that you're someone that's noticing that you're falling into a pattern, or maybe you're having a harder time picking up those nice sketchbooks to draw, maybe you'd like to try, doing your loose drawings in the same sketchbook that you do your finalized pieces in. So this is how the page turned out. It's not perfect, but I had a lot of fun doing it because I got to use a bunch of the liners that I always save for these fun little loose art nights. I hope this video helps some of you peeps, because I know how frustrating it can get when you have been wanting to draw all day and then you finally sit down and everything that you make just doesn't come out right. And maybe you can't even force yourself to draw because you're too tense. So from one artist to another, I'm right there with you, bud. It sucks. I'm sorry. I believe in you. Don't give up. Just make loose art. Make shitty doodles. It's okay. It's fun. It's really fun. Let me know in the comments if y'all have different tips and tricks on how to deal with art block, perfectionist syndrome, whatever you call it. Oh, this one's a little random, but remember you can always make fan art suggestions in the comments down below or in the community tab as well. I'm gonna start announcing that in more of my videos now, just so you guys are aware, and so that way you guys can tell me whatever you want me to draw. Anyways, thank you for joining me today. Hope to see you next time. Bye.